Okay, I want to talk about alchemy today. If most people that have heard of alchemy would think of it as changing lead into gold, but that's not the kind of alchemy I want to talk about today. I want to talk about spiritual alchemy, the alchemy of changing negative energy into positive energy, which to me is the most important form of alchemy. No matter how spiritual you are, you're still living in a third density reality. And you're still going to have emotions and you're still going to get mad. So, when what you do with that anger is one way that you can measure where you're at on as far as your spiritual evolution and how much progress you're making. So a few weeks ago, I had some kids make me just fighting mad. They were trying to get me to fight them, basically. I came home and I was so very angry, and for about 15 minutes, I stewed in my anger, and this is on purpose. I sat down and I felt the anger, and I thought about the situation that had me so angry, and I let the anger build up as strong as I could possibly get it to build up on purpose. You feel that anger, you feel every bit of it until you're as mad as you can possibly get. And once you reach that point, you start thinking about the situation from the other person's perspective. And so you might think about, well, I'll just tell you what I did. So for me, I thought about, okay, these kids, maybe they were having trouble at home. Maybe they had some serious self-confidence issues. Maybe they were just trying to impress their friends because there was a whole bunch of them together. But you go through and you think about what might get somebody to act like that. And then I thought back to times in my life when I have acted like that, because let's face it, we've all been jerks before in our lives. And so I go back and I think about times that I've acted like that and what I was going through that caused those actions. And inevitably, you're going to find fear and, it pretty much all comes down to fear of one thing or another. Fear of looking weak, fear of being attacked because you look weak. It might be fear of social acceptance, fear of not being socially accepted. And so you find the fear in the situation that's causing the actions. And the goal here is to see the humanity in it, to see that human part that can cause those kind of actions, right? And then you start having compassion for that part. So for me, with the situation with these kids, I started thinking about the things that I went through as a kid and times that I had anger bottled up, and when I would let that anger flow out at somebody else. And underlying that anger was always hurt, pain, and fear. And so you put yourself in that situation of the other person, and you get into that dark place of where you may have been in the past that has caused you to act like that. And then you feel the compassion of how you felt, the rough times that you were going through when you were acting like that. And that compassion brings out a feeling of, instead of thinking of the person as a horrible person, you start thinking of the person like yourself. And you try to, for me, I put myself in their shoes. Like I said, I compare it to a time in the past when I've acted the same. And so I try to see them as a reflection of myself, not an aggressor, just a frustrated, hurt, or fearful reflection of myself. And with that memory of when you were going through it, you bring that compassion in, and then you ask for a healing. You ask to heal yourself and forgive yourself for those actions, and then you ask to heal the aggressor for what they're going through, based on what you've gone through. And once you contemplate that enough to calm your nerves, eventually you'll start settling down, and you'll start looking at them more like you would look at your child, or the forgiveness that you would have for yourself. So that does two things. First of all, it helps you find forgiveness for yourself for actions that you may not have forgiven in the past. Like, you might think, oh, I'm a bad person because I've treated people horribly. You're not a bad person because you've treated people horribly. You're living in a third density reality. And that's what third density is all about. We're here to see how we can react out of love. Now, if you find yourself having a hard time getting to that place, then one of the best things you can do is you can pray. And it doesn't matter if you're religious or not. You can pray to yourself if you want. But you pray for the willingness to be willing to see them as yourself. So once you find that compassion, you start, like I said, you start praying for forgiveness for yourself, and then you start sending them love. First, you send yourself the love for the actions that you've done in the past that were similar, and then you send the aggressor love. And for me, I sit down and I'll meditate, and I picture a beam of white light coming down into me until it fills me up. And then I focus on my heart chakra, your heart center. Sometimes it's hard to open up that heart center when you're in a situation like that. That day I was having a hard time opening up my heart center. And so what I did was, once I had calmed myself down about the situation, putting myself in those shoes, seeing the aggressors as a reflection of myself, then I started thinking about moments that my child has just made me beamingly happy. And that will start to open up your heart chakra until you start feeling that warm feeling of love. Well, once you get that heart chakra energy flowing, then I put the focus back on the aggressor that we're talking about here. And I focus that energy in my mind and my meditation. I see white light coming out of my heart and going into them. And it only takes a few minutes of doing this, and you're probably going to start crying. I did, because you release so much energy from your heart chakra, so much emotion, that you just get filled with love. And then you focus on the love, just like you had earlier focused on the anger. And it might take you a few times. I've done this a lot, so, it was the one time and good. And I sat there and I meditated for about half an hour, sending love to these people. But you get to the space where you're not trying anymore. You want to send them love. And now you are a white magician. You have just alchemized negative energy into love. And what that does for the rest of the world is, if you've watched my video on the pineal gland, you're always emitting vibrations. When you're feeling anger or fear, those are very similar vibrations. You're emitting that, and people around you are affected by it. It's like, taking a cold bowl of water and dropping a hot pebble in it. That hot pebble affects the rest of the water. And we're all in this soup of energy together. So when I'm feeling anger and frustration and I walk past somebody, they can feel that. That's how you know when somebody's angry. When you're at the store and you walk past somebody and they don't say anything, but you just get this feeling that they're mad, you feel that they're angry. That's what that is. You're picking up on that vibration. And so when you alchemize that negative energy into love, you're now putting out that vibration of love. And that affects everybody around you.